Mr. Bowden, nice to see you, sir.
The report is as read, so I'll start with the questions.
Any questions or queries? Councillor Stewart.
Hi, Andrew. I just have a bit of a problem with the amount, but I understand that we need these things. But I was just wondering, has anyone looked at any other source of power for there that isn't a generator, like solar power or something like that?
Geothermal?
Early days, solar power was considered and discounted as it wasn't a guaranteed power supply for either of the sites. Now, solar requires sun, and in the event, let's say, that the volcano across the lake exploded at some time, and an ash cloud enveloping Taupo could buy solar power. So for that reason alone, and we'd also have to put a lot of solar panels on the event centre and the Great Lakes Centre, and a rather large number of batteries that wouldn't necessarily give us the amount of immediate standby power for both sides. So that has been considered, but has been discounted, especially as these are welfare centres for the community and need guaranteed power, which at the flick of a switch with the electrical, the diesel generators, you'll have.
Thank you. It's just wondered.
Councillor Boddy.
You made the comment about the lake being covered in ash. That would affect our water supply, would it not? I've just made a comment here. Will the generators maintain power and all sanitary requirements on the site you're looking at?
Yes, they will. Particularly at the event centre, within the boiler room there, there's a sewage pump that will be supplied with power, otherwise it would back up. So at the moment, that's directly linked to the transformer for some unknown reason. So that is part of the scope of work to change that. Also to the
Councillor Johnson.
Through your worship, Andrew, I just had a couple of questions because I'm, from a governance point of view, just making sure that if we're spending a significant amount of money, it's the best option for these welfare centres. At 500 kVA, what's that doing for the centre? Is that just flicking on the lights and keeping it warm?
It wouldn't be 500, it would be 400 kVA.
Okay.
We did look at 500 when we were talking to Trustpower. It would provide full load that's there now, and there's 20% future proofing included as well. So in the event of an event, at the TEC and the Great Lakes Centre, they operate full as well.
And just a second question, other communities that, are like our district, what do they do? Do they have welfare centres that have standalone generators as well?
I believe so, Rotorua and Rotorua Council. Yes, this is not unusual, and the company that we're recommending to be appointed is doing similar work for other councils, some of which are listed here.
And I guess what I'm pleased to see in this tender too was, and it was mentioned at our earlier emergency management committee meeting, was that if we did find a supplier that we would look to locals to help with the installation, and that seems to be happening with this project.
For the builders' work and constructing the concrete slabs that have been designed locally, I might say, Wave Construction, their prices have been used. And when we did a compulsory with all the tenders, site inspection, they were up now as well. So we are encouraging that. So we've got a company, Falcon Electrical, is from Napier, they're probably the closest we've got. We've got Wave Construction, and the slab that was designed was done locally.
I know that these generators can be quite noisy.
Yep.
So as part of the installation, will that look at ways to baffle or reduce the noise as well?
They'll produce 70 decibels of noise at 7 metres.
Okay, so not that
If we went to 50 or 55, you could probably add another $100,000 onto the price. So we've looked at that. But, as far as our budget is concerned, it's very affordable. And in the event of an event, I'm not sure noise would be that important personally. But we've got, I think, we've got a good solution to what we need.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. And you mentioned here the balance will go to some to Turangi-Mangakino. Possibly you've got enough money to procure.
That work, Your Worship, is being scoped at the moment. Okay. We've spoken to two councillors involved in those areas specifically, and we'll be coming up, I would say, in the next month with a design for those. We visited both sites, Mangakino and Turangi. We looked at the electrical engineer what we probably need. The requirements won't be as great as Taupo, but we will facilitate a solution to plug in, really, a standby generator, albeit that might be on a trailer that we can use for both locations. So I would say probably in another month and a half time we'll have a solution there. We'll also work the tender and be using the same electrical engineering.
I think there was some talk about we tried to get a possible grant for this, didn't we? Just the chairman of emergency management.
We did talk directly to the minister in February last year, and her advice then applied for some funding through the Resilience Fund, which unfortunately we weren't successful in. But we have endeavoured to,
fund it
have funding provided for this before actually going into the process last year. Is that correct, Mr. Fox?
That is correct, Your Worship, and also we haven't exhausted all our funding inquiries or income inquiries in relation to these generators. That's an ongoing discussion with some of the major retailers.
Yes, just to follow that up, we're quite keen looking at corporate citizenship sort of partnerships, which in the civil defence sort of arena is working really well, particularly in Hamilton at the Mystery Creek Field Days, where the Mystery Creek event centre has gone on board with civil defence, and they have actually set themselves up when they were building to be a fully functional EOC and providing them 18,000 tent sites on the field days or the showgrounds.
So we could possibly put a sponsor's name on these things.
Absolutely, we're open to any
Anyone
offers?
in particular?
No.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Bowden. Any other questions?
Just in general, this is a requirement under Section 10 of the Act, and we're going to have a couple of generators here in Taupo. That's on the presumption, or the assumption, that if something happens, we can all get to the centre of town. I live at Nukaha. If the bridge goes out, I can't get in. What about Waitanui down to that? Why haven't they got one down there? I'm just wondering, we get very emotive about the subject, but are we actually providing? It's a bit like we're going to go into the risk management, the one that Councillor Park went to, because putting the two generators there, who's it going to serve? We tend to think of Taupo. Well, Taupo's all out there as well. So I'd just like a bit of information on that.
You could come via the ETA, of course.
But unfortunately there's been a massive landslide, and that shut as well. Yeah, I mean, this is the problem that we've got. We've got all these ideas, but in practice they don't often work.
What do you do? Sorry, Your Worship, I would have thought in an emergency of the nature you're talking about, it is far easier to get the residents of Waitahanui to Taupo, whether it be by boat or whatever, than it is to get people from Taupo to Waitahanui that don't have the infrastructure in place to shelter people who may...
No, the lake's now full of volcanic ash, so boats won't work. There's a couple of big landslides as you go around Hātapi. So I'm just throwing this out there that we tend to get very emotive, let's do it, but what's the benefit for all of us?
I totally agree, but one thing
Most central location, no doubt.
Absolutely, and also you need to, just like we've looked at this morning with the flood hazard plans, we need to look at conservative examples rather than, and scenarios rather than extreme.
What about one generator through you, Your Worship?
I see head of emergency management in the back row nodding his head. Obviously, you've had input into this, Phil, and this is obviously the best location, the best system available. You're the man on the ground.
We've worked with the group on this and also with the government and gone through the director's plan on welfare centres, and this is certainly the best option for here. Welfare centres do have to meet a certain standard, which these do, but it's also looked at backup for business continuity plans for our business. So for emergency management, it certainly makes sense.
Through you, Mr. Chair, these venues were actually firstly selected by Ministry and the DHB from memory, Phil, if that's correct, some time ago. They were identified as being the most logical sites.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we've got a suggested resolution there that we procure this generator, and possibly I'm suggesting probably an amendment whether we could seek corporate sponsorship on the naming of these generators. Is that a silly thing, or it's already happening, is it? Okay. Well, perhaps it could just be minuted then, if that's okay, Rachel. Thanks.
Yeah.
Because I presume they'll be quite substantial size machines.
5.3 metres by 2 metres by about 2.4 high.
Yeah.
And all like shrouded. So they the event centre, it could be reasonably unobtrusive. The Great Lakes Centre, it could be adjacent to the buildings, as close as possible. And so we keep distance to the transformer. GOC would be a good opportunity.
Yeah, I could just see the press release. We had a power cut last night, but don't worry, the contact power generator kicked in at the Great Lakes Centre, so business was as usual. Just see it in the or Genesis or whatever power. Okay, suggested resolution there. Did I have a mover?
I'll move the suggested resolution, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Hickling. Seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, carried. Thank you. Item number 7. Mr. Lewis.
Your Worship, we have a tender for the district refuse and recycling collection. I'd like to take the report as read and I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Park.
Yes, so this is a very simple question. Excuse me. What we talk about conforming tenders and then alternative tenders, and we're accepting an alternative tender from after their conforming tender, and I'm just not quite sure. I've looked up the definitions, but if you could just explain to me.
I've got a very simple answer for you. A conforming tender is one where it conforms in all respects for the request for tender. So the request for tender sets out what you are looking for, and a conforming tender answers all of those questions. An alternative tender is one that perhaps offers something slightly different to what the original tender was asking for.
So does it still conform?
Yes.
Under the rules as well, I understand that the contractor would have to put in a conforming tender before they put in an alternative tender.
Yes, correct.
Sorry, Your Worship, but so what's different with the alternative tender from the conforming tender?
The time period.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Councillor Hickling.
So, Mr. Lewis, I'm a little bit concerned about the 10-year service or the contract, because that's basically if the contractor performs, then the renewal period is more or less a given. Correct. Do you think 10 years, and I can see there's some savings with the 10-year period, but look, in 10 years, it's a long time to let a contract. Things might change, or is it really prudent to go to the 10-year option? We are going for a 7-year contract.
Yeah, but there's two right of renewals, and as I'm saying, and you've answered my question, it is an automatic 2 year, 3 year, so it is a 10-year contract that we're looking at.
It's not automatic.
It's not automatic, but if he performs to his contract, it's more or less automatic. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah, well, if he's performing, like anyone in life, if they perform, they carry on, I suppose. But.
So is it prudent for us to take the option of the 10-year as opposed to the 7-year, which is the 5-year contract?
There are distinct financial advantages for taking the longer contract on the basis of the tender price submitted for both the conforming tender and the alternative tender. We have only received one tender for this tender, and that is the incumbent. He's had the current contract for, I think it's 6 years.
Yeah.
Councillor Heck?
Yeah, I'm still a bit uneasy about a 10-year contract, Your Worship, but I can see there's some savings, but there's also savings in the 5-year contract too, because it still goes for 7.
Okay, Councillor Park?
Yeah, just on that, if Enviro Waste Services Limited were to change ownership, what then happens to the contract?
The contract would transfer to the new owner.
Okay.
Through your worship, Mr. Lewis, just a couple of quick questions. I too had similar thinking to Councillor Hickling about the term, but then when I added up the numbers, I worked out it was nearly $1 million worth of savings to this community, which can't really be ignored. But in terms of the extra financial enticement to go, can we ask them to consider that for the 5-year contract to go back, or is that not? I mean, we're not asking them to set up any separate infrastructure to extend the service. It's not costing them anymore.
I'd say probably they've allowed that in their calculations that they will be setting up extra infrastructure, but sorry, I didn't answer the question.
Your Worship, as I read the agenda item, we have 2 alternatives. We either accept the 7-year contract with right of renewal for 2 + 2, or make it 10, or we can accept the 5-year contract with a right of renewal of 1 + 1, which will make it 7. Is that correct, Mr. Lewis? I know your resolution don't say that, but this person has put a contract in for 2 different contracts. And we have the choice of either accepting the 5 + 2 + 1 + 1, or the 7 + 2 + 1.
Through the Chair, you've got an opportunity here to pay $45,000 plus a year less for the same service. The reason why the price for the 7-year contract is cheaper, it means that they can spread the cost of their capital invested over a longer period, therefore they don't need to get as much revenue. So basically your decision is, do you want to spend an extra $45,000 plus a year to get the same work as you could do by having a 7-year contract versus a 5-year contract?
Your Worship, could I ask Mr. Lieutenant, what would you do?
I would take the longer contract. It's obviously an area of the market that, based on the fact that we only got one tender, doesn't give us a lot of choice.
Thank you. Your Worship, can I just ask, the last council, if my facts are correct, you know we have the black bags with the pig stickers on, and we have the yellow bags you can get through Mega Mitre 10. Those yellow bags are in fact owned by Waste Management, not by us.
Correct.
Why was that allowed in the previous contract, and is it still written into this one? Because we're losing revenue.
Well, that's the refuse contract though, isn't it? That's a different contract.
Yeah,
It's the next contract.
it's item 8.
It's a different contract.
Mr.
We're
Aiken.
talking about the second-hand parts one, not the
Yeah, the green bin. This is talking about the green bin collection.
Yeah, so there was an opportunity for council to stay in the market of service provision, as well as piggyback the cost of that service provision by a private service provider. So what we're actually getting is we're able to stay in the market and provide alternatives to the yellow bag, which is our sticker, which is half a sticker. We give the option for smaller refuse disposal at the curbside by tearing the sticker in half. We allow the contractor to piggyback on that service and therefore pay some of the cost of actually providing the truck service going around the road. So we can enable the contractor to be able to keep the cost of that service provision low to our community. If we jump out of the marketplace, we would therefore enable a monopoly situation and the price would rise. So by staying in, we offer a difference in service delivery and the ability to keep the price at a rate that's affordable for the community at the same time.
So through you, Your Worship, are we talking about those bags or some other factors? You lost me. For instance, is the contract that we're looking at, if it's for the refuge,
No.
Refuge and recycling, is the bags that they can now sell through Mega Mitre 10 and other, is that still part of the contract? So the citizens at the moment have the choice between the two, and at the moment I believe the yellow bags are slightly cheaper, but I'd just like to know whether that's still part of that contract.
Okay, so the contractor is allowed, yes, to piggyback on the service delivery, and there's no way that we can stop them or anybody else coming into the market. It's a user pays market. So if you wanted to start business tomorrow and offer a $1.25 bag, you could do so, as long as you meet some criteria around our bylaw, which is, we look at the conditions of operating in the marketplace. So there's nothing that we could do to stop any operator coming into the marketplace. By allowing the contractor to piggyback, we actually get some benefits out of that for the community.
Your Worship, I'm not worried about anyone else coming to the market. Mr. Lewis might answer this. The figure that they've offered in their tender, does that take into account what they may or may not make out of the yellow bags? So, for instance, they've got $1 a bag and it's going to cost $1.50. They're only going to pay 50 cents so they can sell the bag. Would that be correct?
I couldn't answer that one. I don't know how they've made their tender up.
Okay. One question. This particular contractor has been doing curbside collection for how long?
6 years is the current contract.
And have they been a good contractor?
Yes.
Okay, so that's good.
Your Worship, I'll move the suggested resolution.
Thank you, Councillor Suckling. Seconded by Councillor Jollins. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, carry. Item number 8.
Worship, we have a
Contract.